Hello everybody, this is Skyflight44, aka Zect44, and today I'm going to be talking about some more Lord of the Rings LCG cards, whether or not they're any good, and also whether or not they're going to be any good for our campaign. Now, out of all of the cards in the game, the best hero, and one of the best heroes for the entire course of the game, is Spirit Aowen. There is almost, off the top of my head, I can't think of a better quester in the entire game. Being able to not just quest for 4 willpower, but also have the ability to turn any card into some kind of use in a 4-player game. In a solo game, Aowen can do all of the questing on her own. Nobody ever has to go back. But in a 4-player game, she can even become even stronger at 8 willpower and turn any useless card in that moment into actual advantage. So, she has 1 attack, 1 defense, and 3 hit points. That's fine. She could have no defense or no attack power, and I wouldn't care whatsoever. She has enough hit points to not die. That's fine. Outside of that, she also has the Rohan trait, which Rohan does get a lot of support in the Shadows of Mirkwood cycle. And some of the support does allow her to be even better at questing, which obviously is a good thing. However, the other heroes in here are a little bit... With tactics and leadership, the heroes were just good overall. Or they had something that they could go about abusing. For Spirit, they have the best hero in the core set, and they also have 2 of the more mixed heroes. Done here is probably the worst hero in the core set, but in the specific situation that he can be utilized to his best advantage, well, done here is fantastic. For a cost of 8, he is a 1/2/1/4. If you're playing mono spirit for a while, done here is the only attacking you're going to be able to do. However, the big thing for done here is he can attack targets in the staging area if he attacks alone. And when doing so, he gains 1 attack, which means 3 attack for anything in the staging area. Also, if you increase his attack power, he can kill things off before he even leaves the staging area, which actually makes him really cool when trying to kill off trolls. Outside of that, trying to kill off enemies that do not leave the staging area, because you can't engage with them, done here is fantastic with. Eleanor, on the other hand, is simultaneously the worst hero and one of the better ones. Depending on whether or not you're playing solo or whether or not you're playing 4-player. In solo, Eleanor is one of the worst. In 4-player, Eleanor will save your life several times, and she is not to be looked down upon. At a cost of 7, it is very useful in order to drop the amount of drop your threat cost. 1 willpower, 1 attack power, 2 defense power, and 3 hit points. Her response is where she's actually really good. Exhaust Eleanor to cancel the 1 revealed effects of a treachery card just revealed by the encounter deck, and then discard that card and replace it with the next card from the encounter deck. This is like having a test of will. Less so, but this is sort of like having a test of will at all times that you don't have to pay for. This also is very useful because there's a point where you may not be able to use a test of will, in which, if you're not playing easy, there are certain scenarios that have, as setup, you reveal cards from the encounter deck. And if you reveal treachery cards, you have no resources to pay for a test of will, which means you're at their mercy. But Eleanor can allow you to exhaust her and see if you can deal with it. Also, what really makes Eleanor good isn't just her response, but her trait of Gondor and her 2 defense. The fact that you can increase her defense, and if you don't use her response, you can go about using her as a defender, is what makes her good. Especially considering the fact that, I don't know, if you're running Mono Spirit right now, your only attacker really is done here, your only defender really is Eleanor. Good thing Eowyn can quest all on her own. The biggest problem with spirits in the very beginning of the game is the fact that you don't have many allies. Therefore, each ally has to be useful. And even then, each ally kind of is useful for just being an ally. For Costa 2, Wandering Took is a 1-1-1-2. It can do whatever you want, and it does so somewhat well. The Hobbit trait does have some amount of synergy soon, but the fact that it can reduce your threat by 3 to give control of it to another player, and then raise that player's threat by 3, does allow you to move threat around. But this card is just, it's okay. The action isn't going to really come up very often, and a lot of times it's just a better option to have a Erebor Hammersmith or something a little bit more focused, like Gondorian Spearman or the Veteran Axe Hand. But the Wandering Took at least allows you to do everything, unlike the Gondor, the Guard of the Citadel, which just isn't very good. Lorien Guide has the same stat line of the Guard of the Citadel. I can't believe it. But it costs 3. Its response, on the other hand, allows it to commit to a quest and you place 1 progress token on the active location. This has its uses. This kind of makes it sort of like 2 willpower, which is hard to come by for allies, outside of unique allies. The problem is, actually, it even has 2 HP, which means you're not necessarily going to lose it so easily. The problem lies in that if you're not traveling to a location and Legolas hasn't already taken care of your active location, Lorien Guide isn't just going to go about putting 1 willpower, which at that point isn't very good. Not for a cost of 3, though. Especially when you consider the fact that the Northern Tracker is already out. For cost of 4, it's a 1-2-2-3. If you're running a Mono Spirit at this point in time, Northern Tracker is the only way you're going to be able to defend really well. The only way you're going to be able to attack very well. But you're already going to commit them to the quest. Which means they're going to go about only using 1 willpower. But its response is already worth it. After Northern Tracker commits to a quest, place 1 progress token on each location in this staging area. That will, especially over the course of 2 or 3 turns, completely clear out locations in the staging area. Northern Tracker is nigh essential for certain scenarios in the very beginning of the game, because location control is necessary. Going to the attachments, we have Power in the Earth. Power in the Earth, for a cost of 1, attaches to a location, and then the location gets 1 less threat. If you're going to deal... The thing about it is, what you really want to go about doing is getting a location into the... Getting it to active, get rid of it, which means already the location having less threat is pointless. Or you're going to want to go about getting rid of it while it's in the staging area to completely get rid of that problem. So, Power on the Earth really isn't very useful. It does have uses later on, with the Woodmen, in which they have a lot of what they go about using are when attachments or when locations have attachments on them, which allows Power in the Earth to be a much more useful card. In our campaign, I don't really see Power in the Earth being too useful, but it can be used as deck damage fodder. Outside of that, Power in the Earth can also be used if the game slows down enough to make sure that if locations are a problem and you can't get rid of them, at least they're less of a problem. But this has to be used over time. If you don't get to use this over time, it is in no way useful. It's very much like just using Favor of the Lady. Attached to a hero, attached hero gets +1 willpower. That is normal. A cost of 2 for +1 willpower is all you're going to be getting. If it's needed, sure. The thing is, this can only be useful if you have this attached to a hero over the course of 3 turns. Because at that point in time, that's when you're actually going to gain more willpower than if you just threw it away for Eowyn's effect. Because Eowyn just allows you to discard a card from your hand to give Eowyn 1 willpower. Which means you're already saving on resources quite a bit. Now, Unexpected Courage is one of the top 5 best. Well, I'm not going to say top 10 best. I still consider Secret Paths to be a better card than Unexpected Courage, because Secret Paths can blank out more threat in the staging area than pretty much anything else. So Unexpected Courage is very useful, and I would probably say is something more like the 6th best card in the core set. But that there's some contention to that because of Hasty Stroke and Galadrim's Greeting. Outside of that, you exhaust it to ready attached hero. If you have a good hero, you can attack twice with it. You can defend and attack. You can quest and attack, or quest and defend. So much you can go about doing. And this, if you have multiple of these, you can throw them onto the same hero, and that same hero can ready twice and do 3 actions. So let's go about talking about what we're really here for when it comes to Spirit, the events. They have a really good ally, and they have a really good attachment. The others are either mediocre, or at least decent at best, or kind of not really worth it. But for the events, there's a lot of good ones, and some of them that are not so good. Strength of Will is the one that's probably not so good. See, Strength of Will, only good thing about it is the fact that it costs 0. If this cost anything, I would say Strength of Will is not very useful. As an event, and especially as one that doesn't cost anything, as long as you can draw into it, all you need is a valid target to use it with. And technically, we have 3 valid targets. Because Eleanor may not actually have the ability to use her ability. No. There's never a chance for it. Dunhere may not be able to attack because there's nothing to attack. And the Wandering Took, you might have saved for defending or attacking, and you're just not going to have the ability to do so with. At that point in time, Strength of Will is what you're going to be using it for. And you can place 2 progress tokens on the active location that you just traveled to. Basically getting rid of it before it ever has or ever starts becoming a problem. Then we have Stand and Fight. For a cost of X, you choose an ally with a printed cost of X in any player's discard pile, put that ally into play under your control. The chosen ally can belong to any sphere of influence. In the regular game, this is fine. It's like playing an ally from the discard pile. In our campaign, this is a way of getting an ally out of the destroyed pile. Which also means getting a unique ally out of the destroyed pile before they're killed and you lose them forever. So Stand and Fight is a fantastic card. Stand and Fight is not to mention, you save on victory points doing that. So Stand and Fight is one of the best things we can go about using, to be honest. As is Fortune or Fate. Choose a hero in any player's discard pile, put that card into play under its owner's control. So the worst thing that can happen is a hero's death. That, number one, takes down the core power of your deck. Also means you have less resources you're going to be generating, which means you're crippled as a player. This will allow you to go through and fix that. However, it is expensive, and you're not going to be running too many of these. So finding it when you need it is kind of crapshoot. We have the Galadrim's Greeting. Reduce one player's threat by 6 or reduce each player's threat by 2. This is fantastic in a one-player game because that is just straight up 6. In a two-player game, this is not necessarily as useful. But you can still use it to just reduce one player's threat by 6. In a 3-player game, it's just as useful as a 1-player game. In a 4-player game, reducing each player's threat by 2 is fantastic. And it's one of the only ways you can really go about doing so. In theory, this will allow you to reduce each player's threat by 2 so that they can fight for another 2 rounds. Light in the Dark. For cost of 2, choose an enemy engaged with the player. Return the enemy to the staging area. This doesn't really have too many uses. Outside of being swarmed, this doesn't have too many uses. Even then, the cost in resources could be used elsewhere. At that point in time, you might as well use a feint. You might as well go about using a swift strike, something that might waste less and allow you to attack, or at the very least, something that is going to not put that threat back into the staging area. At least feint doesn't do that, and at least swift strike might actually take the enemy out first. Will of the West, for cost of 1, doesn't really have too many uses. I don't really know too many ways this could be useful in the main game, and it is not very useful in our actual campaign. And the entire reason why is when I went about stating that the destroyed pile is utilized as a discard pile anytime a card refers to a discard pile, I did say that there was one exception, and the Will of the West is that exception. Otherwise, this would be broken. And this would be in every single deck, and this would be 100% something that's used all the time. Because why have a destroyed pile when you can just shuffle all that shit back in? What is consequences when you can shuffle literally everything in for a cost of 1? At least Fortune or Fate or Stand and Fight require you to pay a lot of resources to get stuff out. At least Dwarven Tomb makes you have to pay 1 resource in order to get a spirit card from your card pile back to your hand. That's only 1, not literally everything out of this destroyed pile. Then we have Hasty Stroke. Cancel a shadow effect just triggered during combat. You may not know what shadow effects do yet, but let's just say they're terrible. Therefore, Hasty Stroke is more useful in some scenarios than others, but this can save a character. Because as you fight, the entire idea of a shadow card and shadow effect means that you do not have perfect information on how a combat is going to go down. Hasty Stroke kind of gives you that out to if it's going to go south for you real quick. And then there's a Test of Will. Test of Will is the best card in the entire game. The worst thing that can happen to you, even more so than the Shadow effect, is a when revealed effect. They have some of the literal worst things you can go about dealing with, mainly because you can't react to them, usually. For enemies, if an enemy's strong, you can possibly kill that thing before it comes to you. If a location has problems, you can usually deal with it beforehand. But the when revealed effects of a card just revealed from the encounter deck, these things are sometimes devastating, and you're not prepared for it. You do, other times you have an action window to deal with it. Not this. So Test of Will is nigh essential in allowing you to survive, and therefore is the best card in the set, and still my favorite card in the entire game. So what is Spirit? Spirit is very much like Tactics in that it's specifically centered around dealing with one phase or one type of card, in which technically Spirit can do is good against treacheries and locations, but for the most part, it's really just questing locations that at this point in time Spirit is good for. They don't really have very much in the way of attack. They don't really have much in the way of defending. And if you're playing solo, well, not solo, but a single sphere or a mono Spirit deck, then at the moment you don't have many options for actually dealing with enemies. But the entire idea of being able to get into a Test of Will and then use Dwarven Tomb to get it back basically means that having 3 of these and having a Test of Will, as long as you can get into one of them, it's like having 6 in your deck. So, with that being said, have a nice day, everybody.